Module 3, Structural Steel, covers the following topics: structural shapes, modifying shapes, and sample skid. Our first topic in Module 3 is structural shapes. So let's take a look at placing some structural shapes into our design. Pan over our drawing a little bit and place our shapes in here. First of all, under our modules, we will select the structural steel module. Again, we'll leave our spec set at none spec so that we have access to all of the icons. We have bearing piles, we have wide flanges, we have standard I-beams, channels, angle iron, round tubing, and square tubing. Let's look at placing some of these components. Let's look at the standard wide flange. Pick a start point. For the end point would be the length of it, so we could say 10 feet. A variety of options appear. We'll pick a wide flange, 12-inch by, say, 49 pound per foot, and our beam shows up. Go to wireframe, take a look at it, so we actually see the wide shape and the green line representing the center line of the beam. Similar with standard beam, and we can quickly place the beam. Standard channel, I can come this direction with my channel, and let's go with 8-inch. We can quickly place those types of components. We have our standard angle, pick a random distance, equal legged, let's just do a 3 by 3 by 1/8 thick, and there's our angle iron. We have round tubing, structural tubing, and let's just go a 2-inch by 1/8 inch. Looks like a piece of pipe. And some square tubing or rectangular tubing that we can place. And we have rectangular or square. So we'll just do square structural 3 by 3 by 1/8 inch. There's our square tubing. Easy to place. All of the different options are available when placing the steel. Our next topic is modifying shapes. So let's take a look at things we can do to modify our existing steel shapes. Let's place another wide flange beam. Connect to this existing beam, random length. We'll pick the same beam size. Take notice that it connects from center point to center point. We can change their base point by hitting B for base point, and it will show connection cones similar to our equipment, and we can select the connection cone we would like to use for the connection. And now we have it set so that we are flush with the end of the beam. Once we're happy, hit enter, and the beam is placed. Our first option we can take a look at is under the cutouts, under the structural steel, and we can take a look at doing a cope. So we can pick our steel to modify, pick the steel for a profile, and the steel is modified. I just move it out so we can see what it looks like, and then shade it. And you can see that the top of the steel was cut. We can undo that, and now we have a nice connection. Very easy to do. We need to change the length. If we try to use AutoCAD stretch tool, it doesn't work. But we do have a stretch tool which allows us to pick a steel and stretch this 2 feet, for instance. So a special tool within the 3D Smart software which takes components in the database and allows us to modify them. Other things we could do, we can put in cutouts. So I can pick my beam to modify. Let's pick this one. Again, it gives us similar to placing our nozzles. It snaps to this end and says how far along this would you like to do, or we can switch it with the letter S to start from that end of the beam. I'll just pick this one and say let's go over 3 feet. Cutout direction is perpendicular. Pick either side, doesn't matter. And then it gives us the value. So it says what type of diameter do we want, and maybe it's a 2-inch hole. We can say OK. Gives us the profile of a extruded 2-inch diameter shaft, and then we just hit enter, and the hole is created. Simple to do. There are also slots. Pick my beam. I can maybe say S for switch to come from this end of the beam, and maybe it's 3 feet in, again, perpendicular for the cutout direction. And now we see a slot. So we just give it the detail for the slot. So maybe it's a 6-inch wide slot by 3-inch high. Click OK. Gives us a view of what it's going to look like. We can rotate it, we can shift, or we can just hit enter to create the cutout. Shade it, and you can see the cutout. Any number of cutouts can be added to any number of beams. Some basic tools as well. We can erase the cutouts. We can copy the cutouts. We can move the cutouts. We can rotate the cutout. All tools used for modifying our steel. Our last topic in Module 3 is a sample skid. So let's zoom out and add a skid to place our horizontal vessel on. We'll just erase all these components, go back to an isometric, and we'll build this skid over here, and then we'll move it onto the equipment after. So we'll start off, we'll place a wide flange. We'll give it the length of 22 feet. Pick a wide flange. We'll use our sample 12 by 49, and we'll hit enter. Copy that over 14 feet. We can add another beam. We'll go from green center line to the green center line, the same size beam. This time though, we'll change our base point and we'll pick so that it lines up flush with the edge of the beam. And we can hit enter. Let's modify the beam now and then make copies of it. Let's coat the steel, modify this steel against this profile, and it modifies our steel. And we'll do the opposite end as well. And there's our beam coped on both ends, and we can move it out quickly just to show you. And there's the beam coped on both ends. Fits nice and flush now, so I'll just undo that. So there's our beam. And now we can copy this beam, which has already been coped. And we'll say like 4 feet, 12 feet, let's go 22 feet. We can then move the steel onto the vessel or the vessel onto the steel, either way. Shade it, take a quick look. Let's add a couple cutouts. So let's do a drain. So off this drain, we'll just come straight down. We're going to go through this beam, then come over and then through this beam. So we have now routed a center line where we'd like the pipe to run and where we need our cutout. So we'll need a cutout here as well as here. So let's go back to our cutouts. Select the cutout hole, the beam, and then I can pick up the intersection of those two objects. Let's make it a 3-inch hole and hit enter. And now if I shade it, see there's a hole through the beam. Let's add one more. We'll add a slot, pick our beam, pick up the end of this line. Let's do 9-inch by 3-inch. Click OK, accept it, and there's our cutout. Shade it, so now our pipe can come down from the vessel nozzle through the one beam and through the second beam. This concludes the topics covered in Module 3, Structural Steel. Please review Module 3 or select the next module.